Hey guys, this is Jose Vazquez for Baseball Strong here with another great episode. I have a special guest, one of the strongest human beings I ever worked with, one of the best hitters I've ever been around, but most importantly, one of the nicest guys I've ever worked with in baseball. I want to introduce my friend Nelson Cruz. Nelson, you're on. How are you, buddy?
Hey, Jose, how you doing? Thank you for having me on. It's a privilege. As you mentioned, we worked together for many years, and I have a lot of respect, and I think you are one of those big pieces of for any athlete to become good and endurance, to stay in the field. So, if I don't have never tell you this, thank you for all the help. You are a huge piece of my success when I was playing for the Rangers.
No, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Um, you know what? The reason I'm having these podcasts is I want to I want to help educate parents and young athletes, especially high school. Uh, Everyone sees the success that you guys have in the big leagues. Everyone wants to be a big leaguer. Everybody wants to get there, and everybody likes what they see on TV. But what people sometimes don't realize is the work that goes behind that, but also the way that you guys grew up. What happened in your childhood? Some of the things that you went through, the experiences, the work ethic, the success, the failures. A lot of people want to be successful, but they don't want to put in the time that it takes to become successful. And what I'm trying to do is bring stories and people that have been very successful, but I know they have really interesting backgrounds. They grew up in different countries. They grew up different ways. They had different influences. And so the purpose of the podcast is to tell baseball stories about what made you a baseball player, what got you here, got you to the point where you're at right now. And so, but before we get started, this podcast is sponsored by Eclipse Strength and Recovery. This message is for high performers who refuse to decline. You're used to performance, discipline, results, but lately you've lost a step. You've likely tried traditional physical therapy, limited visits, standardized care, insurance-driven care. This model wasn't built for you. If you're looking for results, you want one-on-one care for elite performance without limits. This is different. We work with high-functioning individuals who expect more out of their health. People who are willing to invest in their health and their performance. For elite performance without limits, this is Jose Vazquez for Baseball Strong at Eclipse Sports and Rehabilitation in Waxahachie, Texas. All right, so
Okay.
all right, so first thing, you are a very successful baseball player. I mean, everybody knows that. Your numbers speak for themselves, but what I want to get started with is go back to little Nelson when you were a little kid and you were playing in the neighborhood, starting to pick up a baseball. Uh, Go back to that early age. What made you fall in love with baseball? What was that like? Some of the people that influenced you. Just go back to when you were a little kid. What got you started in baseball?
Yeah, obviously, as a Dominican, baseball is on our DNA. We breathe and live baseball. Is a religion on our country. So back then, baseball wasn't like a business like it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have a kid, you dream the kids to become a baseball player. For some of those families, as a way of get out. Have a good better life,
Mm-hmm.
back then it was just love for the game. And I remember in the street of my house, front of my house, a bunch of neighbors older than I play baseball. And then obviously in school we play like what they call a soft tough baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously my dad used to play softball, so going with him to every Sunday to see him play as well. I want to be like my dad playing softball and all that. But I was working most of the time, so I don't have the time to go and to put into work like regular kids doing right now. Like they go to the academies or they go to the programs and play baseball. I used to go to school, go to work, and then at night when I have free time around after 6, I go to the basketball court because at that time you can play with the lights, and
Mm-hmm.
we don't have no lights baseball stadiums here. So back then,
Back then.
so I don't have the time to go and play baseball. So to play sports, I go and play basketball. Obviously, I play baseball in the street, but never organized. So my path to become a professional was different than any others of the regular baseball players that we have in Dominican. I started pretty late to become, I guess, like I mentioned, I was doing it for a love for the game. I never thought I could become a professional or anything. I thought I love to play baseball. And a few programs saw me play, and they're like, "Wow, you have a lot of talent. Let's come to a programs," and that's how everything started. I basically trained for like 8-9 months, and I become a professional baseball. Even in my hometown, when I signed, they were like, "What? He signed as a baseball player? He played basketball." Like,
Mm-hmm.
so it wasn't a typical role like Dominicans do.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of different. And obviously, I put a lot of work onto because we don't have any program in my hometown, so I was doing basically what I see other players do, like run the mountains, put a tire into my body and try to run with it.
Mm-hmm.
Hitting baseball was like really strange because we only had like 2 baseballs, so we throw the BP from behind the mound, and any foul balls, if you hit 2 foul balls, you have to wait at least like 10 minutes to hit another baseball.
Mm-hmm.
If you hit it to the to, if you hit the baseball, then you have to wait a little bit longer because we only have 2 baseballs. So the draw was difficult, but I believe all that work at the end paid off because I don't know any other way to do it. It was a hard work since day one. So even my last day in the big leagues, I was working as hard as I can because I don't know any other way.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So like, for kids that are listening, everyone has a different path. Not everybody goes through the same. I go to school, I go to the academy, or I have my select baseball team. Everybody has a different road, and if you have talent and you have desire and the work ethic, it can still happen. And so it's not always one road. There are many roads to get there, and especially some of the guys that I've known over the years in the Latin countries, it's always been challenging. There's little equipment. The fields are not the best. They don't have the best coaching. What they did have was a lot of desire and just a lot of love for the game that it's just not natural. Some kids just don't have that love for the game like some of the Latin guys do, and so it's always important to remember not everybody gets to the next level or to the big leagues the same way. So it's always good to hear people's stories and appreciate where they come from because that's the important thing of life is you learn from people that came from different countries or people that came before you, and try to remember some of those stories that can inspire you to become better when you listen to some of these difficulties that guys in Latin countries like you had. So at what age did you start thinking, you know what, maybe I can make it to the big leagues? I think I can do this.
Well, you always dream big. I remember dream to be like Michael Jordan, and then I remember I signed in '98, and obviously Sammy Sosa, I'm a Warriors, really hitting all those homers, and like, wow, what about if I can become like Sammy Sosa?
Mm-hmm.
So you start dreaming there, but the dreaming like to become a big league, if you come from Dominican, is a long way.
Mm-hmm.
First you have to play when you have to play summer league. Once you become a professional, you have to play summer league. You have to do good in summer league. And back then, I remember I was playing for the Mets. We only had 2 visas for 50 players.
Hmm.
And imagine, it don't matter if you do good the first year, we have some of the players that are older that play 3 years, that they cannot play no more in Dominican Summer League.
Hmm.
So you have to wait 3 years to be able to go to the States because
Hmm.
they only have 2 visas for 50 players, imagine.
Hmm.
So it definitely had to be really good to be able to leave the country. And then I remember the first time leaving the country, I got traded to Oakland. And when I was there, I was like, wow, this is like, it was more difficult. Not just because of the talent, it was difficult because the culture part, the language,
Hmm.
I had to adapt to another country, where I had no clue how to speak English.
Hmm.
And obviously that was the biggest barrier that I thought, wow, I need to learn how to speak English. I remember coming the year after that, coming to spring training, and I tell them the travel secretary, you know what, I want my roomies to be Americans, and he was kind of shocked, like, why you want that? I was like, that's the only way that I can learn English faster enough, because I'm gonna be at the stadium
Hmm.
all day, but if I go to the hotel right after practice, and then my roomies are Dominicans or speak Spanish, and then I don't gonna be able to remember what I was learning at the stadium. So just be able to have to speak English all day, listen to English all day, I think make the process of English more easier. And a year later, I was speaking fluently English, and for the guys who live in the States, that's I guess a very they don't have to worry about it, because natural language is English. For us as the Latin players, that's a difficult part. And even now, you find players who play for many years, and it's still difficult for them to speak fluently,
Hmm.
about the role that they do the daily basis.
Hmm.
So that was one of my goals, learning English, and then obviously the process of play every level. Going back to um, my journey through all the levels, playing three seasons here in Dominican Summer League, and they play rookie ball, low A, short season, and then low A, high A, double A. I had to go to every single
Hmm.
level. My road to the big league was challenging, but like I said, I believe all that process helped me to become who I was as a player. And learning through every step of the way how to become a professional. How the love for the game obviously is a huge key of success. I have my son who's 17, and that's one of the things that I always mention. Baseball is hard enough if you love the game, if you put into work. What about if you don't put into work, and if you don't love the game? It
Hmm.
makes it even more difficult. So if you don't have the passion for the game, it's gonna be a long season, and a frustrated season, because the game is really hard in itself.
Yeah. So some of I'm sure you had help along the way, family, friends, who were some of the people that you remember helped you along the way, parents, friends, cousins, whatever, like who were the people in your life, especially through the early years that influenced you the most?
Yeah, yeah. My cousin Carlos, he was the first one who really believed in myself. He was like, "You can become the best player. You can do this. You can." He compared me with all those outfielders there that hit 30, 40 homers, and I was like, "What? What are you talking about? I don't think I can do that." But he was the one who put onto my mind, like, "You can do this." So I believe he was the one. Obviously, along the way, you have coaches that they help you out, and I don't want to mention any coaches because, I got to miss some of them. But you have so many coaches, you need those coaches to become a good player, because obviously you don't have the experience, so you have to go through all the process. But those coaches, they've been through basically everything, and they can they can teach you. You have to be able to have open mind for whatever comes to your way, and be able to learn through the process. Um, but yeah, you need the coaches, you need family to support you as well.
Hmm. Yeah. Now that's important for every kid. Sometimes kids forget and people forget that it took a lot of people to get you to practice, to help you with baseball, to you know take you to tryouts. Sometimes a lot of players they forget it took a lot of people along the way to help you. They may not all be significant, but it takes a lot. No one does it alone. So it's important for all kids and to always thank their parents, thank the people that coach you, learn to be coachable, and just approach the game knowing that you don't know everything, and you need help, and we all need help for everything. So it's important to keep that mindset. So.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Even the one who take batting practice, like the one who throw you practice, the one who
Hmm.
tell you like hitting ground balls or fly balls, you need everyone to become who you are as a player, because it takes a lot of reps. It takes a lot of time. You have to be patient with yourself. Um, I mean, some people they come gifted. They have the talent. They
Hmm.
don't have to wait. But some others like myself, you have to work hard to be able to get where you want. And maintain that talent. Um, so as a player, you always want to be able to appreciate those ones who help you along
Hmm.
the way, because like you said, you cannot do it by yourself. No way, no one can do it by themselves.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so now you get to the big leagues, and so what was your first day in the big leagues like? What was some of your feelings, some of the things going through your head? Is like, man, I made it. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, the first time they got called up to the big leagues, we played in the finals. I was in AAA. We played in the AAA finals. Huh. And somebody told me like a week before that I might go to the big leagues. When we finish the playoff. And so every game that we play in the playoff, it was another day that I was making to the big league. So
Yeah.
I remember that final game we played an extra inning in Tacoma, and I was with the Brewers. And we played an extra inning. I tell the manager, just put somebody on second base. I will drive it in so we can finish the game, and I can go to the big leagues. Uh, sure enough, I hit a homer, and we won the game. And they named me the MVP of the finals. They told me, you make it to the big leagues, you're gonna go to the big leagues the next day. So I remember calling my parents. We were crying, and I don't have the time to sleep because we flying from Tacoma to Houston.
Hmm.
The flight leave like at 4 in the morning, so no sleep at all. And then get to Houston. The first thought was like, wow, we have a lot of food here. This is not AAA. We have a lot of
Yeah.
different food. I mean, all type of foods. And I just remember getting there, eating in the cage. And then when they called me to get my first at bat, I wasn't nervous at all. I was really calm, and I remember Jesse Cirillo,
Hmm.
he used to play third base,
Third base.
shortstop. He asked me, like, you nervous? Like, because I say hi to the catcher, to the umpires, like
Hmm. Hmm.
I was really excited. I wasn't nervous at all. And
Hmm.
he was like, you nervous that bad? Because I saw you kind of lose. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't nervous. Like, you're the first one who take the first big league at bat. And you're nervous. Like, no, I mean, the worst can happen. I strike out. I got
Hmm.
to strike out one time. So
Hmm.
I don't got to be nervous for that. And then I was playing that was like a really good experience. I remember hitting a line drive to center field. Back then, Houston had that hill center
Yeah.
field,
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
that center field, he brought me that double.
Hmm.
He went all the way into the hill and caught the
Hmm.
ball. I was all over ESPN because he wrote me that double. And then just going to the hotel, I had my own room. Obviously, in AAA, you have
Yeah.
a roomie all the way to the minors. You have a
Hmm.
roomie. Just to have my own room. I remember going to the airport. flying a private plane first time as well. All the experience to be in the big leagues is just a privilege. You have to appreciate that. Obviously, you don't want to come back to AAA. That's something that you put in mind. I don't want to come back. And sometimes it doesn't pay. It's no it's not depend on yourself.
Hmm.
But going back to the minors, I remember I appreciate every single hour that I spent in the big leagues, and I cannot wait to be back.
Yeah.
So yeah, the experience to be in the big leagues is just it's incredible.
Yeah. All right. So then now you're in the big leagues. So when did you settle into the big leagues? What were some of the things that you're like, all right, I'm starting to catch on. I'm starting to do this. I belong here. What were some of the things that you realized that either you were doing well or you needed to do to stay?
Yeah, obviously hit.
Hmm.
Once you hit, you belong to the big leagues. I remember 2008, I got put out on the waivers for the Rangers, and going back to AAA, I was like, wow, that was like the most painful moment of my career. Um, and going back there, I was like, I just have to do whatever I can to kill AAA and come back to the big leagues,
Hmm.
and I end up having an incredible season, being the MVP, and then um, so on Friday they told me you're gonna be up to the big leagues tomorrow, and then tomorrow will be the last game. After the game, you will go to the big leagues, and I was stealing bases, a lot of bases, and end up hurting myself. So I had to wait like 20 more days to be
Oh.
able to go to the big leagues. And as a player, you get frustrated because the chance was there, and I'm like, wow. But I remember having a friend who called me and was like, if God let that happen, it was because of a reason, probably you tired or something. And back then, I wasn't thinking about it. I was like, why? Why is this happening to me right now? And then after the season was over, it's like, wow, that was the best thing happened because I definitely I was feel like I was tired. I was stealing a lot of bases. I was running a lot. So when I had that time to go back and had the rehab, uh, I had the time to rest and be able to come stronger to. So when I got called up to the big leagues, my performance was there. Um, so sometimes God puts you in situations where, especially now after I retired, I truly believe that he was involved in
Hmm.
every step of the way of my career.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. So let's talk about some of the most influential players in your career. Some of the guys you played with that you were like, man, this guy really helped me out. This guy was kind of a mentor, or I really looked up to this guy. Yeah, what were some of the players that you were around that made a difference in your career?
Well, I was blessed to be able to play with Michael Young. He was the guy. He was like the guy. Wow, Michael Young, and like he he was an incredible human being. He was an incredible player, but even more better, like a teammate. Like he was the guy. Um, Even he taught myself of to be creating my foundation. I remember the first time I went to an event with him and his foundation, and I was like, wow, this is what I want to do. I want to have a foundation. So he was a guy that always was level. I
Hmm.
learned that was the way to do it because it don't matter how good he was that day or how
Hmm.
bad the game was for him.
Hmm.
He was the same. He was the same with the players. He was the same with the media. So he was a great example for most of the players in their locker room for the Rangers.
Yeah. So, for everyone out there that's listening, when it comes to being a good ball player, there's also a part of being professional. There's another part of being a good person. I've had several people on the podcast, and they've all mentioned Michael Young. So there's a reason, that
Yeah, yeah.
that people mention him is because he was the true professional. He always stayed very, very even keel. You never knew whether he was upset. You didn't know whether he went 4 for 4 or 0 for 4. He treated his teammates with respect. He carried himself in a way that, I mean, he was always also the kind of player I wanted to be. Just like so mentally strong, confident, but yet so calm. I mean, he always looks
Yeah.
so relaxed about everything, but he's very intense inside and very competitive inside. But he also, helped his teammates. I mean, there's so many guys that I still talk to that he made such an impact in their career because of the way that he carried himself and the way that he talked to guys, the way he helped guys, and it's awesome. I mean, I mean, he's a great example of what a true professional is. And so, I guess going back off of that, I mean, I one of the things I always remembered about you is whether you were doing it on purpose or not, you were always a leader too, especially with the Latin guys. Every time that we had group training, it was you and a bunch of other guys, and you came in the weight room and you guys were working together, and you always had that smile on your face, always just happy and encouraging people and stuff like that. And I know that a lot of people that other teams that you've been on, everybody considers you a leader. Talk about some of the things that maybe you did on purpose or some things that just happened, and how you learned how to be a leader in the clubhouse, especially either having that interaction with Michael Young, and also your personality. I mean, you're a very friendly guy, nice guy, and hardworking guy. So it's no secret that you were a leader, whether you had that label or not.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I think, a combination of a few things. First, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a hard worker. Like that, I don't know any other way to do it. Um, as an example, you have to show that you're willing to go an extra mile to become better and to be able to do whatever it takes to help your team win games. And the other part was like I mentioned, just that I care about my teammates. I care about people. I
Mm-hmm.
really, truly believe if my teammates are good, if my teammates are performing good, we're gonna be a good spot to win games. And that was the thing that I care. I just want to win. I want to be in the spot where I can help my team win games. And I knew through hard work I'll be able to do it. So I always care about my teammates. I always care about where they are, regardless of the situations of where they doing good on the field, but especially off the field, the mental part. Because I've been through a lot, so
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely speak by experience with some situations that my teammates have. But the most important thing, just care. Show that you care about your teammates. That goes a long way. When you talk to them, they know that whatever you say is for the best and for the benefit. And as a player, seeing like I say, Michael Young always being level. Um, it don't matter if it is struggle or not. You have to be a true professional on the work. Because it's easy to go to work when you got 4 hits the day before, go and work out, and be happy and be all over smile. But tell me who you are when you're struggling, when things are not going your way.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, I learned that from Michael, and it take me through all my career, and that was one of the things that I was always wanna do. Make sure like um, when you see me, you see a person there is an equal no matter the situation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You mentioned earlier, that you felt like God has looked over your career. He's been looking after you, you know, your whole life. So tell me what your faith is for you. How you see your faith in your career all these years.
Yeah, I truly believe from day one he was there. I remember playing the Dominican Summer League. That was in '99, and I used to go to church in Santo Domingo on Sundays, and we built in that church. And I remember putting a stone, and in that moment I was praying to God, like if you allow me to go to the big league, my first contract, I promise I will build you a church. And I remember my first contract was in 2011, and for some reason I forgot about the promise, and I was really, really sick. I almost died. And I remember I was in the hospital, telling my mom just let me go because I was suffering so much. And they was doing a test and they put me to sleep. And when I was sleeping, I heard that voice that says, "Oh, you forgot my promise." So I wake up, and the pastor was there with my sister, and I tell him what happened. I was like, I don't know why I heard this, and I heard that you forgot the promise, and but I don't remember what promise that I made. And so we were praying about about that, and I want to remember what was the promise, and that came to mind. Like, wow, 99, I promised this, and I signed the contract, and I had a deal with the church. So I tell the pastor, this is what happened. And so he's like, wow, you know what? We need a church. We don't have a church in Santo Domingo. I was like, okay. So I called my dad right there, and I tell, we need to build this church. And I remember the next day, the doctor come in and he was like, oh, we find that the seed that you have, you had this type of parasite. And for 3 months, they had no clue what was going on with myself. Since I mean, I was a believer, but since that day, everything changed, and that's what I tell you earlier. Like, I truly believe, and now more that I retired, like from day one, he was there, and even now, even now, all the process of what I'm doing with my life and all the things that I do to help my community through my foundations and through baseball, helping others, helping the younger generation as well, to become not only a good player but a good person. Because baseball is such a difficult sport, and not so many players can make it. That's the hard part, and that's the dark part of baseball. We only see the history of players who made it and what they do, like having a great career. And we forgot so many players, the majority players that they train, especially here in Dominican, some kids, they leave school such an early age and they cannot go back to school because they're training every day. They're training all day. And some of those kids, they never sign and they leave school so early, they have to be able to go back. It makes it difficult for them. So, and those are the ones who sign, who never go to the big leagues or who never go to the States, and they stay here in Dominican as well, is a side of a player that live in the difficult times. So I'm working and put other efforts to make sure those kids who are playing baseball here in Dominican, they go to school regardless of situations. And I believe, and I see the numbers, we are doing much better and we're working on. So every kid in Dominican had to go to school regardless of the age or regardless of they playing or not. That's one of the goals, and hopefully in the next few years we can make that accomplish. So every kid's had to go to school.
Yeah. So yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to talk about next. I wanted to talk about life after baseball. On social media, I have seen so many of your charity efforts, churches, ambulances, fire trucks, Monte Cristi, like all the things that you're doing in your hometown, and the baseball teams, the winter ball. Like, I want to hear a little bit about what you're doing today and some of that stuff that you've been doing for the Dominican people, for the community, because I think it's important that when I love to see when guys give back. I always see the guys that have been successful and are giving back to their communities. They're the happiest guys that I know, because you're doing good for people. And so tell me about some of the efforts that you're doing in the Dominican right now.
Yeah. So I think everything started when I was with the Rangers, and even before that. I mean, I remember every every off season, as soon as the season was over, I saw like Americans throw the spies, batting gloves to the
Hmm.
garbage and picking it up to, that will be a gift, a great gift to
For
somebody
somebody.
Dominican.
Hmm.
So just picking it up, all those garbage and bring it to the Dominican, and give it away to the kids,
Hmm.
because going back when I was playing, nobody would give me anything.
Hmm.
It was hard to find a batting glove or
Yeah.
whatever. So I started with that, and always see my dad involved in all the charity events and just helping the community in all the ways that he can. And in 2010, that whole season, um, one of my friends lost his house, and I remember getting to spring training and talk to Jamie Reed about, hey, how I can buy an ambulance. So he went and Google and find he was looking for ambulance, and I was like, why you want an ambulance? I want an ambulance and I want a fire truck. So he was looking to fire a fire truck, and the fire truck was like 200 and something. I was like, I don't have the money. How am I gonna buy a fire truck? So thank God, the Rangers Foundation helped me out to have that fire truck
Hmm.
and to get the ambulance. So I ended up having two ambulance and fire truck. Thanks for the Rangers Foundation again.
Hmm.
And that was how everything started. Like, oh wow, it was really joyful to see how impact all those things are for our community. Because you take that for granted in the States. Here in
Hmm.
Dominican, we are good and better.
Hmm.
But back then, there was no ambulance, there was no fire truck in my hometown, and I remember one year we had to take my grandma in the same ambulance that I donate, and wow,
Hmm.
that was when it really shocked me. Um, so yeah, been doing a bunch of stuff. We every year we do the event where we have the clinic, the medicals, in my hometown. We donate the medicines. We bring the doctors and dentists so they can help others. We do a program where we bring big league players and so they can talk to the kids. They can share the experience to become the big leagues, all the hard work. And they also do clinics. That's we do it every January. We now have in place a few programs of volleyball and baseball. We have tournaments of those two sports in my hometown as well. Um, like you mentioned, we built a police station. We donated trucks for the policemen, motorcycles. We help them out to build a church, like I mentioned earlier, clinics, Rose House.
Hmm.
On the pandemia, we give it away a lot of food uh, because it was hard for people to be able to get food.
Hmm.
Wheelchairs. It's crazy. I'm involved in so many stuff that
Yeah.
I don't know how I have time to do most of the stuff. Every day is something. But definitely it's a passion. It's something that I really enjoy, to be able to help others. And obviously working with the commissioner, working with the Dodgers, working with the federation, as a GM for the Dominican World Baseball Classic, and other foundations as well,
Hmm.
creating a very environment for kids to go to school. We donate um, obviously all the equipment and all the tools for the kids to go to school
Hmm.
every year as well. I guess this is part of the stuff that I do.
Yeah. No, man, that's a lot. I mean, I knew it was a lot, but I just wanted to mention that because number one, I want everybody to baseball's great, but there's life after baseball. And
Yeah, no doubt.
whether you make it to the big leagues or you don't make it to the big leagues, I feel like when you play baseball and you learn how hard the game is, I feel like the game teaches you how to deal with hard times and failure and sometimes if you really learn from baseball, I think you can become a better person. And so, whatever you do in life, if you've had the experience of playing baseball, I think you can do a lot of great things because baseball is a game that it teaches you how to deal with failure and how to come back from that failure. And that right there, you can teach a lot of people how to do that, and you can help a lot of people whether you have the means or not. There's always a way to help people, and that's one of the things that I want to make sure that people heard that from you because I mean I see it on social media all the time, and I'm just so happy to see all the work that you do now, and it's awesome. You know, I always thought the world of you, anyways. You're always a great guy to have around, a great player, but just to see the things that you're doing right now, it's awesome. I mean, I like it. All right.
No, 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 no. I think as a baseball player, I mean, say 99% of the baseball players are like really good people because baseball humble you up. Like
Mm-hmm,
it pushes you down so hard that you have to become humble. It don't
mm-hmm,
matter how good you are, you will have some times where baseball just wear you down. Days where you don't buy a hit. If you even if you want to buy a hit, there's no way you can buy a hit.
mm-hmm,
So you go through so much failure, and it humble you up, and definitely, like you say, you become a better person. And through baseball, I thought like even that I played for so many years. I played into my 43 year. I was 43 years old. And one of the things that pushed me to keep playing was I know through baseball I can help so many people and I can impact my community. So baseball wasn't only a game; it was a life changing for my community, for myself. So many people that benefit from baseball
mm-hmm,
all over the country. You go to some places and far away from where I live,
mm-hmm.
and you see the fire department with the equipment and the gear that I brought. I make sure every fire department in the country have all the equipment that they need. So it definitely push you off and make you become a better player because through that
Mm-hmm.
you can help others.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. All right. One last time, one last thing that I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about hitting. For parents and high schoolers that are listening, I want to hear about your hitting approach. I know as I remember when you came up with the Rangers, you struggled a little bit, but as you got older, you got better. I mean, your power got better, your stance changed. I see videos of you with the little device that you use for your stride and your footwork and all that stuff. Tell me a little bit about your hitting, your approach, some of the things you've learned, whether it's mental, mechanical. What advice you would give to young hitters today? Just anything you can think of hitting wise that if I was a high school player and say, "Hey Nelson, talk to me about hitting," what would you tell me?
Well, I think go back, like you just have to enjoy what you're doing, find a love for this, and obviously the process, you have to leave and go through the process, right now we have so many information, it can get you crazy,
Mm-hmm.
from the launch angle, spin rate, or
Mm-hmm.
your hips, whatever you think about it, and as a hitter, you want to be able to think simple, more simple than you can think will be better. So as a hitter, I just want to make sure my the head of the bat it goes straight to the baseball,
Mm-hmm.
sure as I can, and then just let whatever happen after that. Just um, it depends of how good or how well you position the baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be the simplest way to explain about hitting. Make sure you head out on top of the ball and inside, and rotate your hips. Keep your head on top of the ball. Your eyes on the baseball. Um, and that will be, I guess, the easiest way to explain it. Anytime that I was struggling, I go back to that. Let me hit line drives, let me hit the ball to the other way, and then you start from there instead of like thinking to get out of the slump, let me hit a homer. So I just want to make sure when I hit the ball, I hit it hard. So that was the only thing that I care about it. Anytime that I hit the ball, hit it in the sweet spot. It don't matter where you hit it. If you hit it right, it's gonna go somewhere. A good thing will happen.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, you mentioned, there's a lot of information, and especially here in America, every ac- baseball academy you go to, they always have the technology that tells you the launch angle and all that stuff, and even though that stuff is good and it tells you kind of what you do or don't do, but every good hitter I always talk to, they always went back to the same thing: keeping it simple. You want to keep, get the barrel to the ball, hit down on the ball. Every time you're struggling, go back to the simple things. Don't overcomplicate things, and just really focus on just seeing the ball the best you can and hitting it as hard as you can, and the rest will take care of itself if you just keep doing it. So I think it's
Yeah, no, no,
important.
all that information is important because it really tell you about the data. Like, yeah, you're doing good because of this, you know. Um, but you cannot get caught up in numbers and data. You know, you have
Hmm.
to play the game. So, um, once you be able to obviously have that information and just go there and perform the way you want to perform, and you understand your game because you have to know who you are as a hitter, it becomes more easier, I guess.
Hmm.
Because if you're a guy that he land drives and you try to hit homers every single pitch, and then you gotta get in trouble. You're gonna your average gonna go down. You're gonna strike out a lot. So you have to know who you are as a hitter, um, and play to your strength.
Hmm.
And we have so many examples of that right now. I mean, and even the years that we play with the Rangers, you have so many different players and so different hitters that we have on our team. But like I feel like every single those one of those players know who they are as a hitter,
Hmm.
and you become the very version that you can
Hmm.
knowing who you are as a hitter.
Yeah, no, that's another important thing for kids to remember is, like, you got to learn who you are as a hitter. Perhaps a benefit for all the technology, once, when you do your batting practice and you see what your bat does, and how you look on video, how you look on the technology, that at least helps you see what kind of hitter you are. Like, if you're a guy that has a good launch angle, well, your chances are you're probably going to hit home runs. But if you're more of a flat bat guy and the launch angle is not as high, well, maybe you're a line drive hitter. So perhaps use the information to learn who you are. But once you learn who you are, then you got to be the best version of who you are, because you can't. We all have different talents, and the reality is, not everybody's meant to hit home runs. Home runs are awesome,
Yeah, yeah.
but not everybody's meant to hit home runs. So if you're not a home
No,
run hitter,
no.
try to hit for average. If you got
Yes, yes.
so
Yeah, and that's I think that's where we are cut, and we see so many players' career getting down because they all want to hit homers. Um, Homers come, you don't go there and hit homers.
hmm.
Maybe once in a while I try to do it and it happens, but most of the times when you try to do it,
Hmm.
you either strike out or failure. So going like I said, going back to simples, I had to hit line drives, and those line drives they become homers. Um, if I can have the mindset that I have now into 20, go back to
Hmm.
20 years when I
Yeah.
was 20 years old, I was obviously I become a big league right away.
Hmm.
So experience to help you, and like I said, data is important, but that doesn't tell you the whole history of hitting.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, like, you know, we all, as we get older, we get wiser, and we always say, "Yeah, I wish I could do, I could do what I do now then." But but it takes work. It takes works. It takes experience. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of failure, a lot of trial and error. Try different things and see what works for you. But I'd say for hitters today, young hitters today, use the information to learn who you are. But at the end of the day, you got to have some basic idea of what hitting is. Getting a good stance, good hitting position, take the barrel to the ball, keep your head behind the ball, and just hit it as hard as you can, and just keep it simple.
Yeah, yeah, and I truly believe in hard work. People people ask me sometimes like, what was my trust, and I always go back to like, I always trust the work that I put on every day.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that if I prepare myself every day, probably I don't gonna have a good day that day, but
Mm-hmm.
I knew that when the number comes, that 162 games come, I will have the numbers that I want because I prepared myself to have those numbers. So just make sure I don't leave anything for granted, from the sleep well, eating well, doing my work at the gym, doing my work at the cage, um, get to know the pitcher that I'm gonna face that day. I don't want to leave anything for granted. It was part of my career. Once I acknowledge that and I perfection as well as I can do it, it was more easier. It wasn't easy, but it was more easier, because I knew right at some point all that works will pay off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So again, kids, when you're listening to this, your work, you need to trust your work. Every time you step in the
Yes,
game, you got to tell yourself, you know what? I have been putting in the work, and I'm going to trust my work. You're not going to get results every
yeah,
day, and that's part of the game. But
yeah.
there's a better feeling about the game when you know you're ready. When you
Yes,
prepare and
no
you do
doubt.
everything you could do, and you get to that game, and whether you have a good game or a bad game, you can at least look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? I have been putting in the work, and this is what I got today. Tomorrow will be a better day, or today or tomorrow I'll have to do something else. But preparation, you got to trust your preparation. But and so you got to put in the time, and do it over and over again, and you got to find a way to trust your preparation. Otherwise, you're always going to be guessing. It's going to be uncomfortable. Baseball is very uncomfortable, but I think that from guys like you that have had a lot of success, the only comfort that sometimes you can get is that you did the work, because sometimes the results are
Yeah,
not there.
yeah.
So sometimes the
Yeah, I
only
remember.
comfort.
I remember we played in a playoff, when I was with Orioles, and a player, a really good friend of mine, come, and I was working out like every day, and he came to the gym like, Nelson, what are you doing? I was like, what do you mean what I'm doing? "Well, I'm working out, getting ready for the playoff. That was the first game of the playoff, getting ready for the game. He was like, you're gonna get tired because it's a playoff. Like, yes, it's a playoff, but because it's a playoff, I don't change my routine. I don't change my approach. It's just another game, but I had to prepare myself
Mm-hmm.
to be able to perform. And so since that day, I was like, wow. Some people think different. A
Mm-hmm.
playoff, and you have to change who you are. No, I think you become a better player once like I'm myself is ready, and the adrenaline of the playoff and the atmosphere will get you even better
Yeah.
because I mean you in the right place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 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 So like, no, that's very true, because sometimes there are players that feel like every game is different, or I don't do this because of this or that. Like, you prepare the same way. If you prepare the same way, you're gonna get results over time. If you're always changing your
No doubt, no
preparation
doubt.
and you're changing things based on your performance or whatever, then you're gonna get random results. But if you prepare the same way, then when you get results, you're not surprised. And
Yeah,
so that's
yeah,
that's one of the things that I try to teach kids nowadays is, you got all this information, you got all these facilities, find a routine. I mean, not everybody does it different, but like, find a routine and stick with it, and eventually, if you stick with it long enough, you're going to get results. But if you're always changing and you're always worried about your performance and letting your performance dictate your work ethic, then you're going to be in trouble and you're not going to have a good time. I mean, you're not going to have a good time in baseball. So, but
mm-hmm.
yeah, hey man, this is awesome. Thank you for your time. I love all the work that you're doing with your community, and again, you know, I always enjoyed you and that group of 2010, 11, 12. That was an awesome group of guys, awesome hitters. I mean, I learned a lot about hitting just from watching you guys perform. Those days, man, we were scoring runs like crazy. That was
it
fun
was a
to
fun
watch.
time.
That was fun to watch. Um, so tell me about your son. Where's he at now? Where's he at right now playing or
Yeah. My son is 17. He's playing in Western Florida,
mm-hmm,
in University of Cyber Bay.
mm-hmm,
He's a first baseman and outfielder. He throw righty and
mm-hmm.
he lefty.
Okay.
A really nice kid, you know. God bless me, but to be able to have a kid like him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, really respectable, do really good in school, and he's working hard to fulfill his dream. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I always tell him, like I said earlier, you know, school's first, you know, and then if the baseball comes along the way, you know, well, it's blessed.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want you to become a professional and become a good person as well,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, he's doing good.
Well,
Thank
good.
God.
Well, good. So what's next? What do you got coming up next in some of your projects?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we have that tournament
Mm-hmm.
of baseball and volleyball,
Okay.
and doing work with the commissioner, as well
Mm-hmm.
with the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
Really busy with that as well, and then help him out with the program that we have. A youth 12 is the amateur program
Amateur.
where, as you know, as a Dominican, once you turn 16, it's really difficult for you
Mm-hmm.
to sign.
Mm-hmm.
So we created a program where we play 2 games a week, sometimes 4 games a week,
Mm-hmm.
where all the players from 16 on play in those tournaments. So hopefully in the future, when we have a different system, we can have those guys sign older age like we do in the States.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm working in that as well, helping that program to become successful.
Awesome. Awesome. Again, Nelson, man, thank you. Glad to talk to you. Love what you're doing. Keep doing it, man. God bless you. Hey guys, this is Jose Vazquez with Baseball Strong. Until next time. Thanks.
Could I put out one small request?
Yeah, what do you need?
Mr. Cruz.
Oh, he wants to ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Would
Yes.
you mind, for just our Latin viewers that may not know English very well, could you shout them out a little something, maybe for back home or just the Latin American population in Spanish for me, please?
Yeah. What topic do you want?
I'll leave that up to you, Jose.
No, like to say goodbye or like.
Well, some message of encouragement.
Oh, no, un ánimo para la gente latina.
Of course, yeah. No, un consejo para los jóvenes latinos, mi comunidad. Siempre hay situaciones difíciles, como todo en la vida. Yo creo que, como mencioné temprano, el trabajo, el sacrificio, te pone en una mejor posición para ser exitoso en lo que sea en la vida. No necesariamente tiene que ser en el béisbol. Yo tengo una vocación de vida de que todos tenemos 24 horas y depende de ti qué tú haces con esas 24 horas. Tú te esfuerzas o simplemente vas por el flow, como dicen, manejándote por el flow. Depende de qué tú hagas con esas horas, eso hace la diferencia en quién tú vas a ser, no importa en lo que sea, no tiene que ser necesariamente en el béisbol, en lo que sea en la vida, en la escuela, en el trabajo, como persona. Entonces mi recomendación y mi llamado para todos ustedes es que se esfuercen y que cada día traten de sacarle el máximo provecho.
Amén. Está bueno mensaje ese. All right, we good?
I appreciate that entirely, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
Yeah, you
Once
got it.
again, thank you guys.